Athena was like, if you like weaving so much, then you can weave out of your butt. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Leanna if you're new, and welcome to episode 5 of a series I'm doing on my channel, Makeup and Mythology, where I do my makeup and also tell you an ancient myth. Last week we covered the story of Hercules, son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Alcmene, and his 12 labors and also how he killed a bunch of people. Kind of crazy how all the adaptations and the retellings kind of paint him out to be a hero and a good guy, but you know, he kind of wasn't because he killed a bunch of people. Like, yeah, he did save a bunch of people, but it was only because he killed his entire family and felt bad about it and wanted to make himself feel better. And then he still continued to murder people anyway afterwards. This week I thought we would cover Athena, the goddess of wisdom and also war, the daughter of Zeus, and Metis, the Titan goddess of wisdom. It was prophesied that the second child of Zeus and Metis would overthrow Zeus. So he swallowed Metis whole to prevent her from giving birth to said second child. But to save his firstborn, which was Athena, some sources say that he had his son Hephaestus, the blacksmith god, cleave his forehead open, out of which came Athena fully armed. There are definitely some sources that say Athena doesn't have a mother and she just came out of Zeus's forehead, which, you know, I don't think is fair, because how are you going to neglect the original goddess of wisdom, who helped Zeus overthrow Kronos in the original Titan War, by the way, only to be betrayed? Justice for Metis, honestly. So Athena showed up in the last episode as a helper to Hercules during his 12 labors. She was also a protector of a lot of other heroes, including Perseus, Achilles, and Odysseus. Because Athena is a warrior goddess, she is depicted in long flowing robes, wearing a helmet, and also holding a spear. Unlike her male counterpart, Ares, the god of war, who was quite brash and more about brute force and going to war for the sake of war, Athena had this cool courage that helped her with various undertakings. When compared to Ares, she was more about going to war for the sake of justice and actually preferred peaceful settlements whenever possible. Athena and Ares were siblings, for their father was Zeus, and they did not get along. Maybe it was sibling rivalry, maybe it was more than that. But it's most likely because of their differing beliefs and clashing personalities. Once when he was angry, Ares struck Athena on her invincible breastplate, so she picked up a boulder and flung it at him. Now, one thing that sets Athena apart from many other goddesses was that she never felt, according to Cliff Notes, the pangs of love, and she remained a virgin. She was like, ew, men, disgusting. Once she visited Hephaestus, the blacksmith god, and also her half-brother, in order to request some weapons, but he was so overcome with desire that he tried to violate her. Luckily, she managed to fight him off, and he spilled his seed on the ground, and like a plant, his son Erichthonius was born. Apparently, he impregnated Gaia, the Titan goddess, who was the earth itself. So, you know, that's how that happened. Athena adopted Erichthonius and raised him to become the king of Athens, and he made Athena the chief deity of the city. Another time, this man named Tiresias accidentally found Athena bathing, so she blinded him. But after his mother begged her, Athena gave him the gift of prophecy to compensate for his blindness. And his clairvoyance was a detail that played a significant part in the Odyssey. Now, along with being the goddess of wisdom and war, Athena was also a goddess of the peaceful crafts and an inventor. She invented the trumpet and the flute, the ship and the chariot, a few things in a very long list of inventions, and she also invented math. Do you guys know that TikTok trend where it was like, 2 idiots didn't use a condom, so now I have to learn calculus? Well, some goddess invented math and caused millions and billions of students to suffer. Athena was also a great cook and excelled in spinning and weaving. Honestly, she was wifey material, but she didn't want to be anybody's wife, and seeing what her options were, can you really blame her? The other guys on Mount Olympus are kind of trash, no lie. I find her to be particularly interesting, namely because of one particular story that I remember very vividly from middle school, and that is the story of Arachne. There are multiple versions of this story. Some say that Arachne was a princess, and some say that she was just a shepherd's daughter. Either way, Arachne was a great weaver, and she liked to boast about it. There are a couple different versions of this story. In one version, Athena, offended that anyone could even compare themselves to her and her godly skills, appeared and challenged Arachne to a weaving competition. Athena weaved 4 scenes in which the gods punished the humans for being too cocky and daring to compare themselves to gods, while Arachne weaved scenes in which gods actually abused humans for little to no reason at all, which, you know, accurate. Arachne was the clear winner, and Athena was obviously mad about that. And she was also mad about how Arachne portrayed the gods. So she decided to turn Arachne into a spider, thus explaining the origin of the spider. Athena was like, if you like weaving so much, then you can weave out of your butt. Also, fun fact, this story is where the word arachnophobia comes from. As far as I know. In another version of the story, for the competition, Athena actually weaved herself and Poseidon, fighting for who would be the patron saint of Athens, the city, while Arachne weaved Zeus's advances to various mortal women. Athena saw Arachne's skill, but she was probably A, mad that Arachne came for her daddy, and B, wanted to humble her. So she touched Arachne's forehead, filled her with shame, and caused Arachne to take her own life. Athena then brought her back to life and turned her into a spider so that she could weave forever. If you like weaving so much, then weave out of your butt. Yeah, Athena was a bit of a daddy's girl and also a bitch. In yet another version, Zeus was actually the judge in this contest, and it was agreed that whoever lost this competition would never get to touch a spindle or a loom ever again. Partial to his own daughter, probably, Athena won, and Arachne was devastated. Out of pity, Athena transformed her into a spider so that she could weave for the rest of her life without, you know, touching a spindle and loom. I don't like this version because it makes Athena seem like the good guy. Athena also invented the flute, as I mentioned earlier, but when Hera and Aphrodite made fun of how her cheeks puffed up when she played it, she threw the flute away and cursed it. Now the satyr Marsyas actually picked it up, got good at it, and Apollo, the god of music, got real jealous because he was like, that's my thing. And he flayed the poor satyr and nailed his skin to a tree. So yeah, the moral of the story is to just never compete with gods, otherwise you're gonna get filleted and pinned to a tree. Athena was not only prideful about her weaving skills, she was pretty prideful over things that weren't even like her thing. She was just pretty competitive, I think, which, you know, goddess of war kind of makes sense. For example, at the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, various mortals and gods and goddesses were all invited to celebrate. Ares, the goddess of discord, was not invited to this joyful event. Gee, I wonder why. Ares is just like Maleficent being salty about not being invited to give Aurora a gift to like the baby shower or whatever. Like, I think Maleficent is the lamest Disney villain because she has like no motive. She just has FOMO and she's a stone cold bitch about it for like literally no reason. But anyway, Ares, the goddess of discord, threw a golden apple into the wedding, and this apple was inscribed with the words, "For the fairest." And Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, and Hera, the goddess of marriage and fertility, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom, all felt that they were entitled to the apple. Like, y'all, at that point, Aphrodite is literally the goddess of beauty. Like, just give it to her, man. Like, why stir up trouble? But no, they had to compete for it, and they asked Zeus to resolve their conflict for them. Honestly, Zeus is kind of like the king in every Chinese drama when he has to like deal with his concubines fighting over petty affairs. Zeus was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to make this decision and make anybody angry at me. So he enlisted the help of Paris, the Trojan prince, to make the decision. And because Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena were literally all goddesses, they were all beautiful to him. So he had trouble picking, so they resorted to bribing him. Each goddess bribed him with something that they thought that he would really want. Hera bribed him with power over all of Asia and Europe. Athena bribed him with fame and glory in battle. And Aphrodite bribed him with the most beautiful woman in the world. And Paris, thinking that this would mean Aphrodite herself, was like, I mean, if you're down, I'm down. And then he picked her, but then she told him that she was not a woman, for she was a goddess, and the most beautiful woman in the world was actually Helen of Troy. Unfortunately, she was already married, but no matter. Helen was already married to the king of Sparta. Paris went to Sparta under the guise of diplomatic relations and seduced and kidnapped Helen. And that caused the Trojan War. Hera and Athena were really mad, obviously, that they didn't get picked. So obviously they fought against the Trojans in the Trojan War. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this episode. Athena is definitely one of the more interesting goddesses in my opinion, and I definitely had fun doing research for this episode. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!